with Nairn and Hyman. To our joint council meeting with Nairn and Hyman and Baldwin Township. Thank you for being here with this. I just want to remind everyone that this is not a town hall meeting like the previous meeting 3 weeks ago, where we had people present information and you could ask questions. We won't be having questions from the audience today or comments, but feel free to talk to your council at the end of the meeting today. We'd love to hear what you have to say. Is there anyone with a declaration of pecuniary interest? No. And we have a motion here moved by Councillor Austin, second by Councillor McVeigh. Be it resolved that Amy Measy will chair the joint emergency meeting of the Corporation of the Township of Nairn and Hyman and the Corporation of the Township of Baldwin. All in favor? That's carried. Carried. So maybe can I get your names? Would you like to, we're just adding correspondence.
Councillor Ray and Jason.
Councillor Ray. So moved by Councillor Jason and seconded by Councillor Ray. Be it resolved that correspondence received from Patrick Burton, Canadian Nuclear Safety Commission dated October 2nd, 2024, that's actually today, be added to the agenda for information. All in favor? That's carried. Carried. So actually, we have a delegation soon, but I wanted to give everyone a minute to read the email that you just received. So we'll just give councils a minute to read the new information. Everyone, just let us know when you're done. Okay, that's great. So our first thing on our agenda is to have Donna Tortolesi, a member or a resident of Nairn and Hyman, come forward and discuss details that are in a 1956 Bocage mine report. Testing. Councillor Despatie.
So you, Madam Chair, could you give us your credentials? Because it's important, please.
Okay, first of all, thank you for asking me to join you today. My name is Donna Cortelesis. I'm a professional engineer in the province of Ontario. I have worked in mining since 1987 and I retired last year. So I have a lot of working knowledge of having worked in mines for a number of years. And the last 10 years or so have been doing research at the university level. So I'm well versed in operating mines as well as how to conduct research. Okay. So the report after the town hall meeting, a couple of things didn't sit very well with me. And there was a lot of talk about this being naturally occurring niobium. Uranium is naturally occurring. Niobium is naturally occurring. Every element is. However, I left the meeting with the impression that there was just some residual rock left behind that needed to be picked up and removed to a place, because niobium is a low grade radioactive material. But then when I got home, I started reading a little bit, looking into the source and what was going on in North Bay. And I realized that this isn't just rock on the ground. These are uranium niobium tailings from the Bocage mine. Tailings are not naturally occurring. They are a made product or resulting product from a mining processing of ore, in this case, uranium / niobium, both are present. So as I looked and knowing how to do some research, I did find a paper on the Ministry of Mines website about the Bocage mine from 1956. So just to clarify, in the report, it refers to columbium, and in brackets it had the word niobium, but the majority of the report says columbium. Columbium is the North American name for niobium. Niobium is the European name. And in 1945, 50, whatever, niobium was adopted as the international name for the element. And so some people in North America still continue to use columbium, but it's in fact the exact same thing. There's no misinterpretation. It was just a naming convention difference between North America and Europe. So in the report, when you see columbium, it means niobium straight away. So the other thing that when I first started reading this report, the mine was a uranium / niobium mine. So uranium was present, as was niobium, and in different concentrations because they're actually two different elements. I had sent the report to Belinda first, I think, and then to council, and asked that it be shared with council. And some of the items I highlighted, I'm not going to cover the whole thing because it's more information than we need. But I'm going to hit on the things that are important. So the first is that this type of ore body is very different from other ore bodies. There's only actually one or two other in the world that were like this. And most mines and ore bodies are different because of the minerals that they're associated with. All that means in this case is that how you treat the ore can be slightly different or completely different depending on the nature of the ore from something like Elliott Lake. Okay, so this isn't another Elliott Lake type deposit. It is a little bit different. And where that is important is when it comes to how the ore is processed in the mill. So the mill ore is brought up from underground, it's crushed, and it's sent to a mill where the uranium or radioactive material is removed. That process is custom designed, if you will, for the type of ore that is going into the mill. So the fact that this ore body is different means that treating it was a little more complex because there weren't other mines in the world like it. So just the other item I wanted to note was there was a total tonnage. The Newman mine, the Bocage mine comes from the Manitou Islands in the middle of Lake Nipissing. And there are different islands, there's 5 different ones. The Newman Island had the highest concentration and was the one where the mine, the Bocage mine existed. From it, they produced the ore that was estimated in 1956 by O.E. Owens, which is the writer of this report, had the tonnage at 2.5 million tons, grading 0.53 U3O8, which is uranium, and 0.77%, these are percentage, CB305, which is niobium. So that is the ore that they were treating. The next note I had was that, and this is just for people to understand the process, The ore was mined on Newman Island, and then it was sent to the mainland via a 6-inch pipeline. So that's how the tailings were transported. They weren't stored on the island, they were transported to the mainland from the mill. So this is another part of this report that really got my attention. Part of the way of treating this ore was using a flotation circuit. The milling process, there's different stages to it, but in this case, flotation is used. And that's where they add chemicals to the ore, the slurry. The chemicals adhere to the radioactive particles and they float. It makes them float. And then that way you can concentrate the valuable part of the ore body and separate out the material that has no value. So this section says the flotation section of the 50-ton per day pilot plant treated 1,718 tons of ore, and this is imperial tons, not metric tons, at an average grade of 0.74 columbium and 0.038 uranium during 1956. This product was shipped to tails as the chemical section was not in continuous operation. So there's two things here. First of all, the mill was a pilot plant, meaning that it was still in the process of developing the method to best extract the radioactive material. And that's important because, and this alludes back to my first comment about this being an unusual ore body. Because it's an unusual ore body and there aren't a lot of other places in the world that you can draw information from, this was a pilot plant to figure it out. So it treated that amount of ore. The second part that's more disturbing is the product was shipped to tailings by the pipeline because the chemical section was not in continuous operation. So what this means is the ore, as it was being treated, couldn't go through the whole process of milling because of a problem with one section of the milling process. And like when you're mixing cement at home and you're done and you've got some left in the pot, you gotta deal with it and put it somewhere because you can't just leave it inside the mixer. So when you're running a mill, same thing sort of happens, is all of a sudden there's a problem, which in this case, there was a problem with the chemical section. There was a problem, they couldn't finish treating the ore, but they had to send it somewhere. You can't just leave it in the system. It had to complete the circuit and come out. So what most mines do is if they can't deal with it any other way, they send it to the tailings. So the tailings that came out at the end of this particular batch, contained uranium, contained uranium ore that was not completely treated. And so when we talk about the tailings at the other end, whatever was created over the tenure of the mine, and the mine didn't run for very long. I believe continuous operation was 9 months. And I'll explain why in a second. But so this was the disturbing part of this report, was that the untreated ore, 1,700 tons of it were sent directly to tailings. So that's in some of this material that is sitting in North Bay for transport here. Oh, so this little note here, it should have been in the beginning, but this is actually a series of several different reports all put together. So this is just stating that it was the first pyrochlorocolumbium deposit to be developed in North America. So that's not my opinion, that is fact from this report. And it meant that there was no established Columbium analytical procedure to follow. So that's around testing it to know what the grade was. And initially, they tried water-based methods through McGill University. That didn't go very well. The results coming back were low. And then ultimately, they worked with a laboratory in Winnipeg that used radioactive methods. And a completely different, nothing to do with water. And then the assaying of what concentrations were in the ore and subsequently tailings was improved over time. But the point of this note was simply about this being the first deposit to be developed in North America. So when you run into trouble, you can't just call up your buddy mine down the road and say, hey, how did you guys fix this problem? They really had to sort it out on their own. There's a lot more information in this report. What's really relevant to me is that this is not naturally occurring niobium being sent to us. This is uranium niobium tailings. And tailings, because they go through a chemical process, contain whatever is residual, could not be extracted because you never extract 100% of whatever mineral you're trying to take from ore. Oh, I thought I was gonna say, but it was important. I can't remember what I was gonna say, sorry. Right, thank you for that. So at the town meeting, I did ask a question to the tailings expert who was there at the time about if there were any heavy metals in the material being sent here, and the answer was yes. He then said it was at a low level, but didn't say what that number was, and what the limit would be. So the reason that I bring that up is it reinforces that these are tailings. Tailings contain not only the residual ore or gangue material left at the end, the waste material at the end, it also contains whatever else is part of that circuit. So if there were heavy metals in the ore, those heavy metals would not go to further processing for recovery of money. They would go to the tailings. Any other chemicals in there would go to the tailings as well. And I don't know what those are. I did not look into the whole milling process. But it reinforces the point that these are tailings. The other question that we were only allowed one question, and I guess I snuck in a few, but the other question I would have asked is, are these tailings acid generating? So will we have acid water as a result, which is very common with tailings from any one of a number of mines, depending on what minerals were also in the ore body and in the waste material that came out. So if it's acid generating, if there's heavy metals, my question would be what else is in there that you're not telling us about? And it could be that there's other things that are at safe levels, which is fine. Disclosure would be welcome and forthcoming. So that's all I have for council. Working.
These are moving things. Well, does anyone have any questions for, okay, Councillor Despatie?
At the meeting 3 weeks ago, you mentioned something about capacity.
Yes,
And have you investigated any more about that?
I have. So in addition to looking into the Bocage mine, I've also looked for a lot of information about the Aggie Lake mines. In particular, looking for the closing plan and the tailings pond. Surprisingly, there's virtually very little information, that I could find. I'm still looking. The closure plan is filed with the ministry. There was a closure plan. It was filed with the ministry. Why they don't have it and why I couldn't find it is a bit complexing. That closure plan would have the information about how big the tailings pond is, what the long-term plan for a reclamation would take place. So I don't know where that report is. I would love to get my hands on it and read it. The ministry has it, but where they have it, it may not be available to the public. So I don't know. They did say they didn't have it and they didn't know where it was. And there seems to be a lot of information about Agnew Lake just missing.
So in your professional opinion,
Yeah,
would it be unsafe to load this tailings pond with more material?
I don't know. I don't have enough information. When I asked about the volume, tailings ponds are built to contain whatever material is going to be left over from the mining process. And I believe the fellow at the meeting said there was 72 hectares. And there was a slide with an outline of it, but I don't have that. So what I was looking for was exactly that. Now I can go out there and find the berm and walk around it. And I may just do that to get a feel for how big it is. But the capacity of what was built, how much was put in it and what's left is unclear. The fellow who was specializing in tailings at the meeting did say that the way they know they have room is the level has to be within a meter of the top of the berm. So you can measure that with the drone and get a 3D image of it. I don't know if they've done that or how they know they're within the meter limit, but that was their basis for, explaining why they felt they had the room necessary to put additional material in the pond. And I have no idea if that's right. They felt that the area of 72 hectares was very, very large for the amount of material that they were going to be putting in there. I don't have any evidence of information. You know, I go by facts, I go by reports and what, I don't go by comments. You
So
know. So I don't know.
with the absence of facts, you have no way of saying it's good or bad.
I personally, I'm on the fence. I don't know if this is a good or a bad thing. I do have to say that after the meeting and listening to the presentations, there was a lot of information not forthcoming. And then when I read something like this, and there's no mention of this being, you know, they always talk about this being naturally occurring. And like I said, I left the meeting with the impression that this was like leftover gravel that was radioactive, so to speak. But not at all. This is tailings. These are, you know, this is a whole different, and tailings are not naturally occurring. They are a product of a milling process. So I'm a little bit weary, to be honest. I would like more information, more facts, as I'm sure everybody else, including councils, do. But I honestly can't give you an answer until I know more. If I had to err on the side of caution, I would say without the information, if I was asked, I would say no. If there were information to show that it was perfectly okay, which it might be, if it's a possibility, then, yeah, that would be okay.
Thank you very much for your work.
Yes. Does anyone have any other questions? So just to recap though, tailings, we know it should have a small amount of uranium in it, niobium, possibly a variety of other heavy metals, and then probably some kind of chemical that was used in the tailing process. Okay, so yeah, that is, we need more information on that. So no other questions for Ms. Cordelisi?
The only other comment I'd like to make is, have the, sorry. Oh, you're running shoes. The only other question I have is to, both CNFC, which was the, commission, and to the Minister of Mines or Ministry of Mines, is, has the tailings been tested for uranium? And what are the results? Because they didn't talk about that at all at the meeting. They only talked about niobium and that niobium was in safe levels. And it may be that the uranium is there and it is also at a low level. That kind of information would go a long way to helping us understand.
I mean, that makes sense to me, but also, you know, uranium is valuable. They want to get as much as they could, but we can't guess. It would be nice to have the information.
I did get back to why the mine closed. It closed for two reasons. One was it was a low grade deposit and at the end of the day was not economic. The other reason was that the milling process, they had trouble with it and weren't getting the recoveries that they needed to make it economic. So it ran for 9 months. And then it was closed. So I'm amazed that I found this amount of information on the low cash mine, and I can find very little about the Agnew Lake mine.
Thank you so much. That was great information. Just for everyone, the CNSC is the Canadian Nuclear Safety Commission. And so we've been dealing with them a fair bit. Well, actually, they came to the town hall and had a presentation not that long ago.
I forgot one more thing. When Councillor DePatty was asking about my credentials, I also have a Bachelor of Science in Chemistry. So when it comes to understanding chemical processes and the chemistry of what I'm reading, that's why I have a knowledge more than the average engineer.
We're very, we're very fortunate to have you in our community. Thank you.
Lovely. And we've been here 7 years and we absolutely love this community. So I'm very happy to help as a citizen.
You're a good citizen. Thank you. Thanks so much. So next, we have a discussion about the proposed project to transport and deposit, is that what you're doing? Deposit naturally occurring radioactive material at the Agnew Lake Tailings Management Area. Yeah, that we discussed at town hall and what our next step should be. So who would like to propose what our next step could be? Councillor Deputy.
Well, thank you. We know that we've been fed some misinformation. Donna had quite a few questions. We should sit down with her, write down the questions, and try and get some answers.
I agree. I think it would be great to get more answers to questions. Councillor McVeigh.
It's been 3 weeks since we had the town hall, and to my knowledge, we've got no response back from any of the ministries. I get that everything takes time, and we would all think that this would be major importance to everybody. We would all hope in a day or two to have an answer. Let's be honest, a week or so, I could have got by with. 3 weeks and having nothing, absolutely nothing, is ridiculous. Like, nobody in the Ministry of Mines or Transportation could answer our messages or get us stuff. Anything to answer our questions. I
Yeah.
think we have to push a little bit harder.
Let's have CAO catch up on, and especially even your request, maybe you can speak to it, because you've been asking for information.
Through you, Madam Chair.
I have made several requests to both ministries, Ministry of Mines and Ministry of Transportation. There's been no information forthcoming. They say they're working on it. But as you said, it's been 3 weeks. We've received nothing. I have reached out to the Canadian Nuclear Safety Commission with a few questions. They were very forthcoming, answered me within an hour. So kudos to them. But as far as the information package, we've been promised absolutely nothing. I even requested just the slides that they displayed at our town hall, and there's been nothing.
Yes, so that's frustrating. Counselor McVeigh, was there anything else you wanted to address?
Nope, that was just
That
my frustration over the lack of response. Again, we would all hope that we would have an answer in a day or two, a week. That's not feasible. Anybody that works with government finds out it's not gonna happen. But 3 weeks is, sorry. Again, for everybody, we all have to understand things aren't gonna happen in a day or a week, but 3 weeks, it's frustration for me. Mayor Gorham and I have been on this since the middle of June. And back and forth lots, and we've done a lot, and to see nothing come from them in 3 weeks, it's just ridiculous as far as I'm concerned.
In their defense, to be fair, we all know that even at the town here, we don't get things done quickly very often, just because when you're dealing with a government entity or, things can be slow moving. But I think you're right as well. It has been 3 weeks, even to ask for the slides, which have already been public. They're already available. Counselor Austin, we'll just move the microphone in this way, so then any questions or comments or next steps?
My next step is I'm gonna ask the mayor for a 5 or a 10-minute break. Because we are not allowing the audience to speak, I would like to have a break so that some of us councillors could approach the audience with maybe some different questions that we're not aware of.
Is the rest of council in agreement for that, a 5 to 10 minute discussion with the audience? With our, sure, so I guess we need a motion. Counselor Austin likes to surprise us on the regular, so
Very good idea.
we think that things are straightforward and I'm not complaining.
Like a 10-minute break?
Oh, I'm sure you'll need it.
Sure can. Counselor Austin, would you like to move that?
I'll make that motion, yes.
And Counselor McVeigh, you want to second it?
Sure.
Moved by Counselor Austin, second by Counselor McVeigh, be it resolved that the two councils have a 10-minute break at 2:38 PM. All in favor? That's carried.
If I could-
What do you mean at the beginning? What do you mean at the start?
Well,
Or do you want-
they might have different comments.
Okay, let's start again with Counselor Deputy and see if you have any, or what our next steps could be.
Well, as I said before, our next steps would be to consult our citizen with the knowledge that she has. She can help us formulate some questions. I didn't get any questions from the floor.
Yeah, okay, I had a few people speak to me, one of the things. One of the things that was asked is, have we applied under the Freedom of Information Act?
Yeah.
to get
No,
this stuff?
oh, sorry, you finish yourself.
No, I'm asking a question.
That is one thing we've just recently talked about, that because it's been so difficult to get information from the different ministries, freedom of information is a next step.
Because, Mrs. Cordelucci.
Jesus.
Mrs. Cordelucci had said that she couldn't get this information. So can we, apply under that to get that information?
Yes, we could. I think if we had really good, I did submit, a bunch of questions before the town hall, and actually it's interesting to me that they did answer most of them. But I think what's happening now is as we've been educated kind of the first round, you know, we're not mining experts, but it's raised the next level of questions. I don't think you need me to read the questions that we had, but basically it was in preparation for the town hall and they tried to address it. And so now we just have deeper, more thorough questions. And I think you're right, we should try to press for those answers.
Okay, one other, question I was asked is, water testing in Mystic Creek below the tailings. What are the test results on that water?
Well, that would be a great question. We're not seeing, I mean, they would tell us that it's fine, but we want to see the actual evidence.
Test, yeah. And, one thing here, our complaint is, for the motion of naturally recurring niobium. And we were told that it is not naturally recurring niobium, it's the tailings. So maybe our whole statement should be changed to cover that.
You're right. So, CAO Ketchba and I reached out to the Canadian Nuclear Safety Commission today, and specifically it was about, is this norm naturally occurring or is this tailings? And the answer we got back was not really clear. They were good that they responded quickly. And the Canadian Nuclear Safety Commission is very honest that they have no vested interest in this. They just want to keep nuclear things safe. They don't care whether they bring it to Agnew Lake. There does need to be more covering there, but they have no interest in whether it comes from First Nations Nipissing or where it comes from. But this is what he said. The short answer is that mine tailings contain norm, naturally occurring. In the case of a uranium mine, the ore naturally contains many radioactive elements, including uranium. Ore is dug up, dissolved, the uranium extracted as product, and the remainder, including whatever other radioactive elements are in the ore, plus some small amount of uranium that slipped through, becomes tailings. That is to say, waste. The same thinking applies to any kind of mine. Tailings include whatever the miner doesn't want. So for bocage material, the tailings would also include some level of norm. So that still doesn't seem clear to me. Maybe somebody else that does clarify it. But you're right, I think you're right. That's my biggest concern at this point. Is it norm? Is it tailings? Because tailings is a lot more other stuff.
Okay, and, one last thing, I would like to ask that, we put our designate, Donna and, Cordelisi and Brad Corrigan, sorry. They would like to visit the site. And I would like them to do that as representatives of the town to give us a report.
So we have Donna Corlesi, and who was the other person, Brad?
Brad Corrigan. They are both citizens of the town.
I'm not sure about liability, that's the only thing I would use.
I'm not sure they'll let us, but anyway. Actually, you know, isn't the site open?
Yes.
Yeah. Like, it's not fenced.
Will not under the township for liability, I would just
So-
kind of warn against that.
Okay, so don't do it officially, but.
No, don't.
Okay. That's all I have.
Okay, that's great. Yeah, maybe, and then maybe we'll start back here with Counselor Jason.
Put our first name.
Okay,
Cote.
I know, you put your first.
Yeah, you don't put a first name.
I know.
Ryan, what the original question is.
We're looking for next step suggestions.
Well, I know my list of questions is growing. Sure, that's true for many of us. So an obvious next step is, how do we find answers to these questions? I certainly feel there's a lot of distrust and possibly distrust in the government representatives that, you know, have been providing us with the information that they have so far. My direct question 2 meetings ago to the Ministry of Transportation about whether or not the existing material was deemed safe wasn't answered directly, right? It's just gravel, it's not water soluble, right? But it's not, it shouldn't be where it is. We're told the material is to be transported safely. And we're told that the Altima site is designed to accommodate that material. But it's not clear if the material that they're transporting is what it is. And it's also not clear if the Altima site actually meets the requirements for that material or material that may have other properties than we're told. So, how do we get to the bottom of that? I suppose that question is rhetorical, right? That's the situation as I see it.
You just want more answers.
We have unanswered questions, so we need to continue to get answers to those questions.
Councilor Ray? Do you have any suggestions as to what we should do next?
Well, just do what you have to do to turn it down, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shut it down.
Why don't they leave it there?
Oh, hang on, we're gonna keep order. Remember, this is a council meeting and let's keep it respectful and we have reached out and spoken to many of you, and you can also speak to us after, but.
No, I get it. I'm a little tired of being on the defensive all the time. I think we have to kind of take a step forward and put our cards on the table and say, until we have further information, which we're lacking, that's strike one. I feel we were misled. We were told it was norm and it's tailings, strike two. And then lack of proper consultation. If nobody had brought this up, we would see trucks going by and nobody would be none the wiser. So that's strike three. And in my books, I feel that they would have to climb a hill to convince us to take it. As of now, I'm a hard no.
Thank you.
All right, so, I just want to review, the information that we got today, the letter. So I had read the first paragraph basically, right? It's here. And then, and so everyone here just looked at it for the first time when we got here. So, I mean, the answer was, what is the difference between norm and mine tailings? We heard the answer. There's some deficiencies in the Altima site. Were these part of the public report? He emphasizes that they've all been low risk in nature. The various deficiencies. We don't make our reports public automatically, but they are available on request. They met this morning with a list of questions from the town hall, so that was today. There was one in there that we were taking as a request for recent inspection reports, so they are coming soon. So this is from the Nuclear Safety Commission. The final approval, has the final approval been given by the CNSC for the materials at the site? And they actually say there are some remaining questions relating to the management of water that might come into contact with the bocage tailings after they are placed at Altima, but before they are covered. And because of that, we can't say anything on timeframe for material movement. So that is the Nuclear Safety Commission saying that they have not at this point approved the plan to move forward with the trucking, but we don't know when they might approve it. Councilor Despatie?
Will they advise us when they give the okay for this consultation?
Well, they haven't said that they will, so
Can we ask them? Could we notify it?
sure, like are you thinking the nuclear or,
Once they get the approval
MTO?
Either
and
one.
the MTO, when they figure they're gonna start.
So we have, oh. Sorry.
Well, my impression is the MTO and the Ministry of Mines and the CNSC do not agree that we're entitled to receive that information. So that's what concerns me.
We're not entitled.
There has been no acknowledgement or agreement on their part that I'm aware of or that I saw in any of the meetings or at the town hall that they intended to share any information or inform us at all.
What Counselor Jason is coming, it's true, they did nothing illegal by just not disclosing to us. This was actually a different process. Normally it would be Ministry of Mines that would have done it. And they, in their process, they would have disclosed to us. But because it was the MTO and they had property, they're not legally mandated to do that. So that's why we weren't consulted. But you're right,
I'll clarify my answer though,
Sure.
because the question was about forward, right?
Mhm.
We were told we didn't need to be told.
okay, at the
Nobody
town
did
hall.
anything wrong. But the question is, will we be told going forward? And I was just saying, to my knowledge, I never heard any acknowledgement or agreement that we will be told anything going forward. So it would not come as a surprise to me if all of a sudden the CNSC approved it and trucks started rolling. And we were-
But we can ask to be told.
As a
I think
courtesy.
it's been made clear that we want to know. And the MTO representative at least acknowledged they could have done better in letting us know. But that's as close as we got to, I think, any agreement or commitment or promise to be kept better informed going forward. Just as my answer to your question.
Now they're waiting. Um. Okay, so, I also myself personally, to go back to our business item, I do think it would be great to do another round of questions and get clarifications. We could push it and do it, freedom of information. I'm sure that costs us money, but, no. CAO catch bus says, no, that's great. So we find out more information and, possibly using freedom of information, but, this is where we, move, to do a motion, so how we might want to move forward. Now, keep in mind, we are two separate councils. So if we're going to be unanimous, I guess that's not a gray area. We can vote as two councils, but if we start, to disagree, we need to move into just a single council meeting. And, then, right, so, yeah, you can see how that affects voting. Does that make sense? So generally speaking, how would you like to move forward? I think, Baldwin, do you want to lead your discussion for your,
Well,
Is that a suggestion that there may be disagreement?
yeah, I think we want more information. I think it's a no until that's met.
I only have one question about that. I mean, do we have recourse? I mean,
Nope.
we can say, you know, all we want, but
Well,
can we
at the
actually
end of the
do
day-
anything?
so we've already asked for no. In the
Already
sense
asked for no.
that we've said no more until there's been consultation. We would not say consultation has been adequate,
No,
For sure.
right? I don't think any of us here would say that. What are the other things that we had on that, impact onto health and, personal safety? Where's our motion that we originally did? Sorry, I just have so many papers. It's been hard here for you. Do you have we wanted a non-partisan That's MTO. Okay. Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, for the things that we've already asked for. Okay, I have the petition. Yeah, so we've asked the different ministries to unanimously endorse the halt of the project, including the transportation and deposition of naturally occurring radioactive material until a clear line of communication is established with local municipalities. Inclusive consultation process, it has been conducted. Full disclosure of all pertinent details regarding the proposed future North transportation and disposition plan, including specific transportation routes, emergency response plans, safety protocols, and the future management plans for the Altima site. Conduct environmental and health impact assessments with input from independent experts, including the opportunities for public hearings and the province of Ontario to enact legislation that consultation with municipality is a requirement for any projects that include the transportation and disposition of NORM. So we've already asked for a halt until this is fulfilled, and I would not say that this has been fulfilled. So are we all in agreement that we move forward with a more specific set of questions that are perhaps helped by Ms. Cortelesi, and potentially move forward with freedom of information act so that then we can get answers to our question? Are we generally in agreement with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Madam Mayor,
Excellent. Oh,
I
Councilor
would
Dick-
like to add that we make a request to these three entities to notify us if and when it starts moving.
Okay,
It almost sounds like we're giving up.
Oh, no, no.
This morning.
What about the health and safety plan?
So we kind of have this one started, so that are we formally opposing it? They said they could until we receive back and put it in that. Like, sure, basically.
are we saying we formally oppose until we get answers to questions? Is that so different? Yeah, this is where we're asking to halt the project. But
Do you want me to read what I have so far? Okay, so I'll read you what I have so far and then make suggestions for changes. So whereas the council of the,
I thought we were doing a whole new motion. I thought this.
I think we can use this one, just add on to it.
Okay.
Sorry. So we have a draft motion ready to go. Obviously, we can make changes as requested by council members. It says, whereas the council of the corporation of the township of Nairn and Hyman and the council of the corporation of the township of Baldwin convened a joint emergency meeting on Wednesday, October 2nd, 2024, to discuss the proposed plan to transport and deposit radioactive naturally occurring materials at the Agnew Lake Tailings Management Area. And whereas the council's reviewed information received from the Ministry of Mines, the Ministry of Transportation, and the Canadian Youth Or Safety Commission regarding this proposed plan at the town hall meeting dated September 11th, 2024. And whereas the council strongly agreed that the materials that are planned to be deposited are not correctly defined as naturally occurring radioactive materials, but rather mine tailings that contain not only the radioactive substance niobium and uranium, but also contain hard metals that pose significant environmental health risks.
So can I stop you there? Is everyone fine with that paragraph? So we're saying that it's really tailings and not, okay?
Okay. Says where, and then it continues, whereas there are significant concerns regarding the potential contamination of drinking water sources, particularly Agnew Lake, which many residents rely on for safe drinking water. And whereas the councils agree that the Agnew Lake tailings management area needs to be remediated using clean materials to mitigate the existing environmental impacts rather than being used for the deposition of additional hazardous materials. Do we want to keep that paragraph?
I don't think we're asking, I think we're asking for more information at this point. Does everyone agree that this is saying that we just want clean materials on the, so yes, you're saying that's what you want?
Well,
I,
to
I,
fix the problem. properly.
I think we're looking for information. Yeah,
Isn't this to fix what's already there? Not to add anything, it's to fix the problem that's been
yeah.
outstanding.
For you.
Okay, well, I'll continue, we can make amendments. Therefore, be it resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Nairn and Hyman and the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Baldwin formally oppose the transportation and deposition of these materials from the former Bocage mine and waste site, Nipissing First Nation lands and adjacent lands operated by the Ministry of Transportation to the Agnew Lake Tailings Mine Management Area. So then we can add that we're also requesting further information. And then this project be halted until we receive it. Is
Yes.
that what we want?
Okay,
And we can send to the other municipalities. I think we have the list for Ontario.
Do we want this going out to all the same entities that the last resolution had to? From your left board and all the ministries?
do we need to send it to everyone if we're really just asking for more information? Or we're just announcing that we're.
I think we gotta
opposed?
keep them aware. I think we gotta keep them in the loop, because they're probably not.
And it would be a little more offensive than fighting. Let's take them to task.
Answer that we respectfully demand answers to our questions.
Yes. And if we could receive notification. When if and when there's some movement forward. In the project. We don't need to mention freedom of information, right?
Yeah, we can just do that.
Yeah.
And as for
We
the freedom
shouldn't
of
have to need to use that.
No.
That's a
No, we
mechanism for
shouldn't.
us to get the information that we want.
It also might speed it up if we.
Well, it actually
Councillor
slows it
Austin?
down because they were their
If I may state,
that was about it.
the construction company up there is moving forward with preparations to receive that material. They have been working constantly since our first meeting. So that everybody knows that they haven't ceased anything.
They have not.
Can you use the mic?
I just wanted to let everyone know that the work up there has not ceased. They are still working at the site preparing to receive this material.
Why is the side much here?
Okay. The finance raised your question.
Open your mouth. Your game.
Okay, who would like to move this? Oh, sorry.
No.
Start, stop. And seconded, Counselor Jason? Moved by Counselor Gorham, second by Counselor Jason, whereas the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Nairn and Hyman and the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Baldwin convened a joint emergency meeting on Wednesday, October 2nd, 2024 to discuss the proposed plan to transport and deposit radioactive naturally occurring materials at the Agnew Lake Tailings Management Area, and whereas the council's reviewed information received from the Ministry of Mines and to the Ministry of Transportation and the Canadian Nuclear Safety Commission regarding this proposed plan at the town hall meeting dated September 11, 2024. And whereas the council strongly agree that the materials that are planned to be deposited are not correctly defined as naturally occurring radioactive materials, but rather mine tailings that contain not only the radioactive substance niobium, but uranium, but also contain hard metals that pose significant environmental and health risks. And whereas there are significant concerns regarding the potential contamination of drinking water sources, particularly Agnew Lake, which many residents rely on for safe water, drinking water. And whereas the councils agree that the Agnew Lake tailings management area needs to be remediated using clean materials to mitigate the existing environmental impacts rather than being used for the deposition of additional hazardous materials. And therefore be it resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Nairn and Hyman and the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Baldwin formally oppose the transportation and deposition of these materials from the former Bocage Mine and Waste Site, Nipissing First Nations land and adjacent lands operated by the Ministry of Transportation to the Agnew Lake Tailings Management Area. And be it further resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Nairn and Hyman and the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Baldwin respectfully demand that the Province of Ontario, the Ministry of Mines, the Ministry of Transportation, the Canadian Nuclear Safety Commission provide answers to our questions, and that the municipalities receive notification of all forward movements of this project, and that a copy of this resolution be forwarded to the Honorable Doug Ford, Premier of Ontario, the Honorable George Peary, the Minister of Mines, the Honorable Rami Sarkaria, the Minister of Transportation, the Honorable Andrea Kajin, the Ministry of Environment, Conservation and Parks, Chief Toulouse and Sagamuk Anishinaabe Council members, Chief Nujte, and Atikamashing and Anishinaabe Council members, Chief Rodney Nwangabos. I'm sorry, I didn't know this was here, and the Whitefish River First Nations Council members, Chief Patsy Corbett, and on deck Omni Kaning First Nation Council members, the United Chiefs and Council of Minising, Ontario Ombudsman, the Canadian Nuclear Safety Commission, the Canadian Environmental Law Association, MP Carol Hughes, MPP Michael Mantha, and the Association of Ontario Municipalities, and all Ontario municipalities, all in favor. Carried. Oh, this,
I'm sorry, I heard you say hard metals, it's heavy metals.
We could change that. Are we okay with changing that?
Yeah.
should I ask everyone if they're fine with heavy metals? Heavy metals, we're all okay with heavy metals, all right.
And then this is to send a petition.
Do we have one about media?
We do.
Okay. Counselor Ray, would you like to first this? And Counselor, or actually Mayor Gorham, would you like to?
I will.
Moved by Counselor Ray, seconded by Counselor Gorham, whereas the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Nairn and Hyman and the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Baldwin initiated a signature petition on August 22nd, 2024, regarding their strong concerns with the proposed project to transport and deposit naturally occurring radioactive materials to the Agnew Lake Tailings Management Area, and therefore be it resolved that the two councils direct staff to send the petition to MPP Michael Mantha to present to the Legislative Assembly of Ontario on behalf of the councils and residents of our communities. All in favor? So that's to send our petition on to Michael Mantha.
And this is, if we want to do a media release.
Okay, so this is about media release. Does anyone have opinions about that? That we should go forward with media? I'm not asking the audience.
Yeah.
Counselor Dave Petit, was that a hand?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
everybody's all right. Counselor Dave Petit, would you like to first it?
I will.
And Counselor McVeigh second?
Sure.
First by Counselor Dave Petit, seconded by Counselor McVeigh, whereas the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Nairn and Hyman and the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Baldwin have formally expressed their opposition to the proposed plan to transport and deposit the radioactive and toxic materials to the Agnew Lake Tailings Management Area in the Township of Nairn and Hyman, and therefore be it resolved that this opposition be communicated publicly through a media release to ensure that the residents of the Township of Nairn and Hyman, the Township of Baldwin, as well as the municipalities along Highway 17, that this material will be transported through are aware. All in favor? It's carried. Any other things before we wrap this up, Mayor Goro?
No, I think our position is pretty clear and we're gonna go forward with that.
Excellent. Okay, moved by Counselor Austin, this is to confirmatory bylaw. And, okay, Counselor David. Moved by Counselor Austin, second by Counselor David, be it resolved that being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Nairn and Hyman and the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Baldwin at its joint emergency meeting held on October 2nd, 2024. Be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed in open council, and its number shall be 2024-31. All in favor? It's carried. And Counselor Jason, would you, this is that we adjourn. And Counselor Ray. Moved by Counselor Jason and seconded by Counselor Ray, be it resolved that council adjourned the meeting at 3:26 p.m. All in favor?